The first time I used this, I sprayed my entire mirror. But 3 weeks later, I replaced my Sonicare. So here's what's going on. I have been using a Philips Sonicare electric toothbrush for years. It's one of those purchases I made and felt really good about, and I never really questioned it again. But then, this brand Soocas reached out to me and asked me to take a look at their new Neos II Ultra, which does something I had not ever seen before in a toothbrush. It brushes, vibrating at a really high frequency like a sonic toothbrush. And it has a built-in water flosser, all in one device. And I thought, okay, either this is a really smart idea or a really good marketing angle. And I wanted to find out which one it actually was. Since that was my first time using a water flosser, I'm a little paranoid. I'm gonna go back with a traditional flosser and let's see how clean my teeth feel after using that water flosser. So here's what makes this comparison even more interesting. These two toothbrushes are priced almost identically. So we're not talking about a budget option versus a premium one. We're talking about two products at essentially the same price point, where one does one thing really well and the other is trying to do three things all at once. So let's start with a quick lay of the land so we're all starting in the same place. The Philips Sonicare Diamond Clean 9000 is what most people think of when they think of a premium electric toothbrush. It uses sonic technology, which means it vibrates at a really high frequency to break up plaque and push fluid through your teeth. It has 4 cleaning modes, a built-in pressure sensor so you don't have to brush too hard, and it connects to an app if you want more level of detail. It's a single-purpose device that has been refined over many years, and it has a really strong reputation. I've been using this brand for years. Meanwhile, the Soocas Neos II Ultra is doing something fundamentally different. It's trying to be 3 things in one. So it brushes, it oscillates, and it has a built-in water tank that lets it floss with a pressurized stream of water while you're brushing your teeth. That last part is the thing that sets it apart from everything else in this price range, including the Sonicare. So you're not having to buy a separate water flosser and a separate toothbrush. You're getting both in a single device for $160. And here's the part that I think gets overlooked in most toothbrush reviews. A water flosser is not cheap. A decent standalone unit can run you anywhere from $50 to $100 on top of whatever you spend on your toothbrush. So if Soocas can actually replace both devices, the math starts to look pretty differently quickly. So let's start with what I like. So with the Soocas, the built-in water flosser is the headline feature, and honestly, it works a lot better than I expected. So I just tried a water flosser for the first time in my life, and honestly, I didn't really know what to expect. So when I turned this on, I actually got a bunch of water in the mirror, but it's not the fault of the toothbrush. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and so I had this pointed at the mirror, and so it squirted out, and it's actually, quite a bit of water that comes out. Like I think it actually used up the reservoir. So I think you're gonna have to fill this up every time you want to use it because yeah, it used it up after that one little session. But first impressions, it works better than you would think. Like, I don't know, I thought there'd be a ton of pressure, maybe it would even hurt, but it actually didn't hurt. If anything, like there's a lot of vibrating like on my lips, and so I kind of feel that sensation after the fact, like it's still there. But yeah, it was a painless experience. You do want to be mindful of where you're pointing the brush when you start flossing because it will start gushing out. But your mouth is going to fill with water, so you want to make sure that your mouth and your lips are capturing that water. Otherwise, it's going to start to dribble down your shirt. So you do need to pause to spit. You don't really want to be swallowing that water because there are food debris and particles in it. But yeah, a bit of a learning curve just because I've never used one before, but I think I'll start to get used to this. Since that was my first time using a water flosser, I'm a little paranoid. I'm gonna go back with a traditional flosser and let's see. I won't show you close up, but I'll give you a sense of how clean my teeth feel after using that water flosser. I have to say I'm pretty shocked. I don't see any food debris on my piece of floss here. Again, I won't get too close up because it is a little gross, but I mean, it's not actually that gross because I don't see any debris on it. So that was actually very, very effective. I also want to mention the oscillating head, which is something that Sonicare does not have. So on top of the sonic vibration, the Soocas head also rotates slightly, and that combination gives it a noticeably thorough clean. It's really hard to describe without experiencing it, but it just feels like a lot more is happening compared to what you get from a standard sonic toothbrush. Now, battery life is also a meaningful win for the Soocas. It lasts around 30 days on a single charge, compared to about 14 days for the Sonicare. The magnetic charger that's included is also a nice touch. It's simple, clean, and one less thing to fuss with. And it comes with a travel case right out of the box, which is something that Sonicare doesn't include in the base package. Wow, my teeth feel super clean after that, brushing both of them back to back. But after using these back to back, I have some thoughts about the whole experience. And so, obviously the Soocas is a little bit bigger. The Sonicare is thinner. But in this case, I actually like that the Soocas is thicker because I feel like I can grip it better. And I've got small hands, so I can't even imagine what some with bigger hands would be thinking. But this just feels really nice. It's easier to grip and just to kind of maneuver around my mouth. I will also say that despite using a Sonicare for a long time, I, just paid more attention to the user experience this time, and I noticed that the sound of it reminds me of a mosquito. Like it's a little annoying. But again, it's very effective at what it does. It's great at brushing my teeth. But just the whole experience with the Soocas was smoother in every way. Everything from the sound not being as annoying or as harsh. Like it still has a buzzing sound, but it doesn't sound like a mosquito. Like this really made me think of mosquito when I tuned into the sound. And also just the way that this handled my teeth. This one just feels like a little bit harsher. And, maybe that's to taste. Maybe some people like to really harshly brush their teeth, but, you honestly shouldn't because your gums are there too and you don't want to damage your gums. And so this, I just felt like it was a little bit smoother and just more gentle, but still felt very effective. Like I still felt extremely clean after brushing and flossing with this. And so just overall, like a just smoother, more refined experience with the Soocas versus the tried and trusted Sonicare. But let's talk about what could be improved. To go back to that mirror moment from the beginning, the Soocas does have a learning curve, and I want to be honest about that because I think that's actually important context for a first-time water flosser user like me. There's a small reservoir to fill up before you brush, and until you figure out the right angle and get comfortable with the water pressure, you're going to need to lean a little bit further over the sink than you think. For me, it took about a day or two to dial in the technique. But once I did, it was completely fine and noticeably less messy than using a standalone water flosser, which requires you to hover over a sink the entire time. Now, the Sonicare's main limitation in this comparison is simply what it is not. It's a fantastic toothbrush, but at $180, it does not include a travel case, and the battery only lasts for 2 weeks between charges, and it does absolutely nothing for you in terms of flossing. So if you want the complete oral care routine, you're going to have to buy another device on top of it, and that can add up fast. So the bottom line is this: if you already own a dedicated flosser with a routine that works, then stick with the Sonicare. But if flossing is the thing that you keep meaning to do better, then the Soocas removes that excuse. And honestly, for most people, that's the more valuable thing. I'll link both products below if you're interested, and in the meantime, let me know your thoughts on electric toothbrushes, on water flossers. Which ones are you using? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.